That thing's firing up.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's starting to anyway. Once it goes live, I can trigger the website. Right. Battery low.
What size?
Triples. Do you have triples?
I do.
Let me into it. We go through batteries like candy for me. Definitely a time.
Definitely don't work. I don't like running back and forth.
Okay. Right. All right, we'll go ahead and call to order the Stevensville Town Council meeting for Thursday, September 9th, 2021. Ms. Burkhardt, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Allen.
Here.
Councilmember Devlin.
Here.
Councilmember Wadler.
Here.
Councilmember Ludington has an excused absent tonight, and then Mayor Dewey.
Here. All right, if you could please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time we'll open the floor for public comments from citizens on items that are not listed on tonight's agenda. If you please step forward, state your name and address for the record and sign the sign-in sheet. Any public comment on items not listed tonight's agenda?
Bob Michelson, 222 Turner Street. I see that the town is advertising for a SRO Cares Cop, which is a great idea. I would only hope that when the details are worked out, that the contract comes before the council and the public to be looked over and addressed. Thank you.
Okay, is there any further public comment? All right, we'll move on. On council's agenda for minutes tonight, you have August 18th budget workshop minutes and August 25th budget workshop minutes for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve budget workshop minutes from August 18th and August 25th.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Devlin, seconded by Ms. Wadler to approve budget workshop minutes for August 18th and August 25th. Council discussion? Public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and call for the vote. Ms. Burkhardt?
Councilmember Allen.
Aye.
Councilmember Devlin.
Aye.
Councilmember Wadler.
Aye.
All right, council has approval of the biweekly claims, claims number 16992 through 17022.
I have
I have a question about 17002 Nova Software, $300 and $75.
So we split those out across two different departments. So the city attorney pays for his subscription, and then the police department pays the remainder. Is there a motion to approve claims?
I'll make a motion to approve claims 16992 through 17022.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All right, it's been moved by Ms. Devlin and seconded by Ms. Allen to approve claims 16992 through 1602 or 17022. Council discussion or questions?
Just a question regarding the Verizon bill.
Yes.
How much longer are we in contract with? I think, is it the Public Works?
The building department phones, I think we only have a few months left on those contracts. We're about to embark in a reorganization of our contract entirely with them to make sure what we have right now is kind of like several different contracts just being paid for, you know, and it's not the best bang for the buck given how expansive our plans are with Verizon. As you can see, one of the heaviest charges on that bill was for the airport, and that was inadvertent due to data usage. We didn't realize how much data that operation was going to use without an internet connection, and so it caught us off guard. So that's one of those things that initiated us to reevaluate our plans and what we're contracted for. So you're going to see some changes there coming up in the next couple months. So any further questions from council on the bills?
17013 Visa, Kavana, only $12.99. What is Kavana?
Kavana is a marketing tool the town uses to kind of create our notices and that sort of thing through social media platforms and our website. Any other questions from
Is
council?
that a subscription or is that just a?
It's monthly. Other questions from council? Okay, is there any public comment? Okay, oh, Ms. Barker.
Stacy Barker, 104 Winslet Ave. I just have a comment like on Jamie, she mentioned the Verizon. So once those are gone, the spectrum that you have is listed as spectrum and internet on claim number 17020. We're paying $464.89 on top of the $1,225 for total $1,690.15. Is that going to go away once those contracts are paid off? And we'll be strictly just with spectrum because it says phone/internet.
So the total bill for spectrum is $464 per month. That's the entire bill.
So are you,
So
I guess my question is, I know Jamie questioned the Verizon as well, and it sells cell phones. So are we paying for two different?
these are our landlines. The spectrum phone, the
Spectrum's for
spectrum bill is
landlines.
for landlines and phone, correct. And the building department will always pay a share of that.
Okay. And then, oh, I didn't print it off, never mind. That's the question, I don't have it.
Is there any other public comment on the claims? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and call for the vote. Ms. Berthoud?
Councilmember Allen,
Aye.
Councilmember Devlin,
Aye.
Councilmember Wander.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously. We'll move into administrative reports this evening. At the last meeting, I promised you we would be ready to launch the My Sidewalk dashboard in terms of department reports. And we are in fact ready to do that. However, what we thought was the library's problem with the projector appears not to be their problem whatsoever. So in advance, we apologize for trying to blame them for the projector issue. We think it's our equipment, and we didn't realize that till this evening. So I can't share the dashboard with you. That would be counterproductive, but we'll send out a link so that you can take a look at it, and we'll make, of course, that available to the public as well, so that they can check that out. We're still fine tuning, and it's still in kind of a beta release phase, but we're getting a lot closer with setting some goals, and that the data without the goals is still there, so you can picture that. Nonetheless, the department heads are prepared to report their regular reports to you this evening, with a couple of exceptions. I heard from the airport manager just about an hour ago, and he had to leave town for an urgent matter. So he wasn't able, although he planned to be here, he wasn't able to attend this evening. But if you have any questions regarding the airport, just let us know. We can get those answered. We'll move into the community development report for you. It's reporting standard building activity for you there. The planning and zoning activity that we've seen has been a variance request, which the Board of Adjustments will address next week under a public hearing and decision. We've also had a pre-application meeting for a development on the northern end of Creekside Meadows, piece off of East Side Highway there that would bring 36 lots to the community. So the pre-application phase is there. We're waiting for an application for preliminary plat. And then you'll address some phasing deadlines that later this evening in tonight's agenda. So outside of those issues, planning and zoning isn't undertaking anything remarkable. The board is, though, working on their subdivision reviews, and I think by the end of the year, you'll see a draft of those and be able to consider those. So that's kind of the community development update in a nutshell. Finance. Ms. Planty.
Good evening. I don't have a whole lot. Last week, our auditors did come to the office and they finished the on-site work last week by last Wednesday. So they will be, we have a few adjustments to do to finish out the audit, and then they'll be sending over their report for you guys. And other than that, I'm still working on balancing FY21 so we can get the AFR ready for that audit. And that's about it.
Thanks, Wendy. Fire Department, Chief Molly.
So my monthly report is in your packet. It's pretty much standard as it's always been. Anyway, in August, we had 78 requests for service. We're saying at 520 as the end of August. You can see the breakdown there that town was 185 year to date, and in the district was 328 year to date, with 7 mutual aids. In August, we had 33 in town and 44 in the district, so it's running about normal. It's pretty close to an even split on a monthly basis as it goes. Currently this month, we're already up to 25 calls for requests already this month, so we're probably on par to be at 50, 60 calls again this month. So that's kind of the stats and how that all's looking. Coming up, we have our 9/11 service on Saturday at 10 o'clock. We will do our annual silent procession down Main Street starting at 9:45. And then at Veterans Park will be the ceremony at 10. You're all welcome, invited to come. Please come and join. Hopefully the town comes out and memories available. 19, 20 years, I think this is the first time it's fallen on a Saturday. There may have been one other previous Saturdays, but it was the first one I remember. So we have that going on. Other than that, it's pretty much business as usual. We're trying to staff and cover some of the sporting events that the high school has going on as far as the ambulance security goes. Trying to fill that up for them because they're having issues with getting Marcus Daily ambulance there. So we're trying to staff and cover that the best that we can. 4 o'clock in the afternoon games are really hard for us to get covered and staffed to, but we're trying. It's out there. Like I told them, call 911 will come. Somebody will show up if you have to have that, but we're trying to do that for them. Other than that, we're pretty quiet for the rest of the month. Things will get a little more exciting next month in October. October is back to open burning within the town. I would foresee that open burning throughout the county will probably be opening back up relatively soon. Things are starting to calm down that way. If we get some good moisture now coming next week, that'll really help that all out. But other than that, it's pretty much business as usual. We're still running the majority of everything we do is medical calls. So yeah.
Thanks, Chief. All right, Parks and Recreation, Mr. Sunstein.
All right, so some things down at Lewis and Clark Park. We got an order of wood chips, partnered with the school again, as has been done in the past. We filled in some of the low spots. We're holding off on really filling that up because of the Father Valley Park renovation. We want to make sure we have enough wood chips for that, and then there should be some left over to go back to Bear Mountain. If not, we'll address that as the time comes. 2 corner post covers were smashed, so now they're kind of jagged. So we got some new ones on order. We finally got a new tire swing on order. Down at River Park, the trail got pretty overgrown. Just busy summer, we weren't able to trim it back as much as we liked. So that's a big project I'm undertaking next week. I've started, but if you have ever walked that trail, there's kind of a tree-in tunnel area, and you have to duck about that high to get through it now. So gonna go through there with a chainsaw, clean that all up. Started it, but it's a big project. Father Valley Park, Andy Laster, the gentleman that's helping with the splash pad, he was nice enough to do a CAD drawing for me with the new playground structure. So I have that. It really highlights and shows it. Between that and the park board and I, we've chosen the picnic table, the trash receptacle, the playground border. Like I said, wood chips are on hand. Last 2 things we need is black paper for under the wood chips and the concrete to put the structure in. I was out of town for a week, but now that I'm back, I'm gonna really push to try and get a park board meeting scheduled next week, hopefully, middle to late next week. I know it's first week of school, so some of the people involved, we have to push it 1 more week. I think that's the latest we can go, because I'd really like to try and get that in by the end of this month, early next month, the latest. So that's moving along. Creamy Garden Park, with the budget, we're looking to do some new picnic tables in there. So that's another conversation we'll be having with the park board, and getting that a little fixed up. As for the pool, the last day, it was August 25th. We closed it on the 26th. It's been cleaned, winterized, closed up for the season. I'm working with Bitterroot Aquatics to maybe get some newer pool tarps for free. The ones we have currently are old ones that they had, and they're looking to get new ones. So we might get theirs, which will be a little better shape than ours. So that's a high point for the pool for next year. Some events, there's a concert at Lewis Park on August 15th. It was a really good showing there. That group that did it was already looking to do another one in October. So that's a good thing for the parks. Upcoming is Miss Earth USA delegates needed to do a community service project, and they reached out, and they are hosting a community cleanup day September 18th. It'll be mirrored to how the town typically has done theirs, but they really just needed a project. So I helped in the background, but it's going to be their project, and it's the 18th, 9 to 11 a.m. Meet down at Lewis and Clark Park. And then they have some tasks that we discussed, walked around town, and kind of made a checklist for them to work through. So that's coming up. A couple other things. Let's see, 4 pavilion rentals in late August, 2 scheduled for September, 1 scheduled for October. And I'm currently on my own for the parks again. Our seasonal employee's last day was August 27th, and he's back to teaching school.
Any questions for parks? Great, thanks. And next you have the police department report. And Chief Sosa is not able to attend this evening's meeting. He is attending the National Latino Peace Officers Association Conference in Houston this weekend, where he is receiving a National Lifetime Member Award. So our organization is very proud of that achievement on his part. As we kind of get some more information about that award, we'll share that with the community and help him celebrate. But that's the reason for his absence this evening. His statistical report is included in your packet. So if you have any questions, feel free to share those with us after the fact, and we can get those answered. But it appears his report is becoming a little bit more comprehensive for you to kind of better describe trends and activity going on with the police department. So police department is also advertising 2 positions. One is a CARES officer, as we refer to it. It is not a school resource officer, but is a kind of a standalone program that is modeled after SROs. curriculum, but it's its own deal. So we are working with the school district on finalizing the details of that while also recruiting for that position. And then we are also replacing another vacancy in the police department with the departure of Mr. Ellington, who moved back to Florida for family reasons. We'll be replacing him. So we've got 2 recruitments out there right now for SPD. Moving into Public Works, Mr. Cruz had a prior commitment and was not able to join the meeting this evening, but wanted me to highlight the report he included in his packet. Most of the data you see on that new report in the packet there is actually test data. You can kind of see some of that in there where there's email test or some other things. So this is part of the asset management and work order program that was launched about 4 years ago through a community engineering corps grant that was provided to the town and in partnership with the American Waterworks Association. So that project is now finally coming to a close. They've gone through, mapped and inventoried all of the water and sewer and streets and transportation assets. They are inventoried now in a computerized system that manages work orders. So when something breaks or something is due for maintenance, they are alerted and told what to do and how to do that task specifically. And then of course that system has the ability to pull reports to show what's coming up, what's been done, all of those cool things that softwares will report. So this is an example of a report. If you have suggestions to changes or something like that you'd like to see it specifically, let us know and we can accommodate that. But he wanted to get this in kind of preliminarily to show you what he's capable of producing now in terms of reports and productivity. The rest of his activity then I believe is attached in his standard report format. I think the only thing to note is that October 4th is when Lewis and Clark's yard waste dump site will open at the parking lot there, so that people can start bringing debris down and we can dispose of that in the organic waste landfill. So. Okay, moving on to the agenda this evening, the council does not have any guests, correspondence, or public hearings or unfinished business to address. That brings us to new business item A, discussion decision on resolution 491, adopting a master fee schedule for FY22. As part of the budgeting process, council discussed the revenue challenges that the town of Stevensville had. As a preemption to that, the administration was prepared to propose fee increases for charges for services to avoid overall tax increases across the community. Philosophically, meaning that we wanted to make sure that the people utilizing certain services pay their way on those services, and that the general population wasn't being overtaxed for something that maybe didn't benefit them. So that caused the administration to reevaluate and fees and charges for services across our master fee schedule. The last time the master fee schedule was adopted was for, I think, FY 20, and we left it alone for a year and didn't propose any changes. Prior to that, it had been some time since fees had been addressed, and we only really changed those on an as-needed basis. When the administration reviewed fees, we gathered with the department heads that were relative to those charges, and the commercial staff who was involved in collecting those and evaluated fees charged by other communities against what it costs us to provide certain services. That's how we came to the conclusions we did with the charges that we have. The statutes require that we don't overcharge and we only charge a reasonable fee. And so we obviously kept that in mind as evaluating. We didn't want to gouge, obviously, or produce revenue that was exorbitant or above what they cost to deliver a service. And so this is just to cover our costs above and beyond what Mrs. Smith typically pays for general government services. So the only things I want to note on the master fee schedule that have changed since it's been published in the packet, there's just a couple of corrections I want to make for you. First being under the business type fees, we had listed a nonprofit organization as $25 a year. That should read zero, no charge. The ordinance requires that those are no charge ordinances or no charge licenses, and there's no reason for us to charge nonprofits. There aren't enough of them to even be concerned about. The next is then general public safety. A couple of years ago, we had proposed alarm system permits and false alarm fees. We've taken a step back from that and reevaluated and decided that there are other priorities the administration would rather tackle than drafting legislation to allow for those fees to be charged. So they're being removed from the schedule entirely. So those are not there. A schedule of fee changes is included in your packet to kind of see what the old fee was and the new fee was. And then, if there were any new fees proposed for charge for services, those are included as well.
I don't see on here the garbage fee.
We removed that, incorporated it into the permit fee.
For special events or?
Correct. Yeah. So special event permit fee includes the use of garbage, regardless of how much garbage they produce, whether it's a can or 30 cans. That's just, we basically took a running average of what an event produces in garbage for us and got rid of the fee altogether.
So that's any special event, it's not specific.
Correct. The other thing with special events is that we separated, there were some events we were classifying as special events for the park that were actually just park use, but we didn't have a mechanism for any other way to facilitate those. We separated those out. So the park uses are different than those where you're maybe holding an event like a block party or something downtown.
For special event permits, I understand like the garbage fee when we're doing like Western Heritage Days or Creamery Picnic, but and I brought this up in the past. When we have farmers market, I've spoken with a few of the vendors that participate weekly. They do a lot of work on that street to upkeep it, to make it look nice, weed pulling, sweeping. They do bring their own garbage cans. They do clean up after themselves. And since I brought it up at the last meeting, I have been keeping an eye, and the garbage cans don't get too full just from that event on a Saturday. I think there's a lot of people that are out and about, obviously in the summers on the weekends, which that does produce garbage, but I don't believe that it would be fair to charge them for the work that they do put in to prepare for that space. So if we could make an exception when we talk about a special event permit, and maybe for that special event, have, if the garbage is incorporated in here, maybe have a different rate for that, I think is more appropriate.
I hear you. My concern is that every nonprofit that files a special event permit does something for the community. And so, I mean, we're not charging these fees to make a profit for the town of Stevensville. We're just doing this to make sure that the costs are covered associated with having an event in town, regardless of what that event is. Some events have more of an impact than other events do. And so we've balanced that within the fee structure. So believe me, there was a lengthy, I would prefer never to talk about garbage again. There was a lengthy discussion in the administration when we got to that fee, and which is why it was removed as a line altogether, was because it's just so hard to nail that down. And it's circumstantial from one to the next, right?
Sure. Maybe we could break it out a little bit further then, because to charge $150 to farmers market, or something that is smaller that doesn't bring the kind of volume that the bigger events do.
But you have to remember, farmers market lasts all summer. We only charge one event fee for that. We don't charge for every Saturday that they close the street, and we don't charge for every single event like that, where, you know, if there were 2 or 3 events that the single organization held, we would generally charge a separate fee for each of those events.
So farmers market pays $150. They also pay the $25 block fee.
The road closure fee, yes,
So they pay $175 for a summer.
correct. Your comments, Jamie, aren't without merit. I don't want you to feel like we're dismissing what you're saying, because when you brought this up ahead of us reviewing the schedule, we noted that, and that's how we came to the conclusion we did. It's just hard to accommodate one off this or because the next thing that happens, and that's my concern is that then we get the next group in who wants a special favor, and then we get bogged down, and then it's why do we have a fee schedule in the first place? Because we're constantly coming to council asking for fee waivers.
Sure. And I just think, I mean, if it's a one-time deal, it's a one-time deal, but that's an event that people count on, that like, there's not a lot of money that's produced to those vendors, and they're doing that to try and supplement income, or in some cases it is their income.
Sure.
And so I think it's just different. And I'm trying to wrap my head around why it would be the same. I think it's just different. And I think it's different than just, you know, I think of like if the Stevensville Playhouse wanted to do something, I think $150 is valid. It's not something that our town looks forward to and really kind of relies on in the summer. And so I'm just wondering how, and not taking away from that, you have put time into that as well. I'm just wondering how we might be able to be a little bit more creative than charging.
Our concern as an administration approaching this was that Mrs. Smith, the taxpayer, wasn't subsidizing an enterprise or something else.
Sure.
You know, we understand not the nonprofit realm. We also understand the for-profit realm and all of those aspects. And we want to maintain, you know, as much of a business-friendly mindset as we can. And we understand the value of events to our downtown. Farmers Market is no exception to that. But we want to be sensitive to the taxpayer. Now, if the community as a whole comes to us and says, we're okay with higher taxes in order to subsidize these events in town or any other activity for that matter, then that's a prerogative. But what we've heard is, please don't raise our taxes. And so the only other alternative we have to make, you know, to keep up with the cost of doing business for the community is to, you know, charge those who are using the services, who are utilizing them.
Is each booth paying $150?
No, the farmers market as an
As a-
organization pays, and then as I understand it, then each booth is paying whatever monthly or weekly fee
A fee.
to the farmers market.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
An audience member.
Of course.
Stacy, are you collect from each booth? Does
We
one
do.
person pay?
We do. We pay $15 for us to be there for Saturday. That covers our insurance that we have to pay, which is $600. It actually went up this year because I had to up my liability for the town. So now we pay $680 for our insurance. That's for the whole season. The garbage was another thing, was the $220 for that weekly fee. So that covers and then we have our power. We have 2 vendors that use the power. And that was, I paid $40, I believe, but now it looks like it's gonna go up $20 for the panel. And I don't know if that's gonna be for the season or if it's just gonna be every single week. So on average for the season for us to pay, it's $1,000. So it covers that. And then again, also getting advertisement out there for the public to know that we're there every Saturday. And that was $1,000 for us to do that too. So it's not a moneymaker. It's to get the senior, you know, our people here. We have a lot of seniors that depend upon that during the summer for the fruits and the vegetables that come. You know, we have our honey. Our vendors don't make a killing. It's to get the people there throughout the summer and just as a fun community event. Sometimes it's just a social hour. Sometimes we have people come down there and that's all they do is they socialize. It's something for them to be involved with, so.
So each booth is paying about $15 a Saturday.
$15 a Saturday.
So I guess when I'm sitting up here looking at the special event permit and Jamie is saying that it's different. At first, I would say no, $15 for a season is fair for it to sell. But if it ends up being $15 each Saturday, I'm willing to bet some of those booths don't even sell $15 on Saturdays. So I can see, I do think there is merit in what you're saying. It is different and it can't be just a social hour. So on paper, it looks like they're paying about $15 a week, but, or $15 for a summer, but that's clearly not true.
And we're not necessarily considering what what an individual booth, we don't want to get into the logistics of how the farmer's market operates. We're more interested in saying this events as a totality, removing farmer's market and all of the other, we could sit here and nickel and dime every single event that happens in Stevensville all night. But the reality is events in their entirety have an impact on our operation that is above and beyond what we would typically do. And so that's where the charges for service come from. And we hope that each event pays their way. I don't disagree that it's circumstantial based on each event. But I don't know if it's fair that our organization sacrifices to support it. Please don't scoff in the back. That's completely unnecessary. I understand. I do believe that, we're talking farmers market. That is important. Creamery picnic is important. Western Days is important. All of those are very important. But they also have a load in our community that frankly, even these fees, I don't know if they fully cover those costs in some cases, in some regard where we're charging more for an alcohol permit, we're doing that because there is an increased risk of problems with alcohol. And so, but the reality is it's not, some events have alcohol that don't have a problem whatsoever. And they have to pay a higher fee because their crowd, maybe behave themselves versus the next event who may not. It's just, we could go around and around on that. And I think one of the concessions that the town did make and set a precedent to was charging farmers market a single fee for the entire summer, actually something like 20 Saturdays, instead of, obviously charging the application fee every single Saturday. I think that is a tremendous concession to make to that group, and rightfully so. They deserve that.
If we can't make an adjustment to that, I think it would be fair to make a concession that we don't charge them the special event application fee or maybe the event power panel fee, which is $40 cost right there.
So how about this? We're obviously very concerned about the farmers market. And I'm not saying you can make whatever changes to this fee structure you want to. That's why it's before you this evening. But I guess if we are specifically concerned about the farmers market, then let's address farmers market in its own piece.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay. So I would just say, if that's what you're interested in doing, then and you're okay with the fee structure, then adopt the fee structure and let's put an agenda item together to discuss what the farmers market is charged and set that in policy, rather than unwinding all of this other stuff just because of one event.
I'm not okay with doing that if we're not going to address it. Because to be quite honest, I'm not okay with charging them $150 plus all the other fees. So let's make a motion to discuss this. So I'll make a motion to approve the fee changes. And let's discuss it.
Is there a second to the motion to approve fee changes?
I'll second that.
Okay, moved by Ms. Devlin, seconded by Ms. Allen to approve fee changes as they're proposed. Discussion.
Now, on this first page, the resolution page,
Mhm.
now therefore be it resolved, town council hereby amends and adopts the fees as shown, effective date of September 15, 2020. Why is
I
that?
should say 2021.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Same thing with the fee changes from fiscal year 20 to
Yes.
22, that should say 21.
Yes, I used
Correct.
to old form, yes.
Further discussion from council, those clarifications.
Are we going to modify this statement to discuss that later?
Yeah, I guess you have a couple of options here. You could use tonight's time to set your own, I mean, if you want to set farmer's market on its own fee line on the schedule, then you could use tonight's time to do that and establish what that fee is. You could deny the fee schedule as it stands today, and you could address farmer's market at a later time and then adopt a fee schedule with that fee. You could adopt the fee schedule and move forward and make an amendment with the farmer's market adjustments if you'd like to.
Would this be an option? What if we created like a community event grant that we could grant people? So like if it is an event that is not a moneymaker, that is solely for the benefit of our town, for the people of our town, to bring people to our town, could we offer some kind of grant that reduces these charges? And then it would only, anybody can apply for it.
I think it's a great idea, Sydney. It's very creative, but you're not going to like my response.
Okay.
I don't know how we would fund the grant. The reason we're raising fees is because we don't have the revenue. And so I don't know what revenue source would fund that grant in a sustainable way. And I mean, there's nothing stopping, I mean, every event to some degree or another isn't necessarily a moneymaker. I mean, arguably they fundraise for certain causes. And then that's how they do their thing, right? But you know, I guess what threshold do we cross where we're not just granting a waiver on every fee? And I think that's an option as well, is, you know, in the case of farmers market, we charge them the application fee. That's the start, right? And we don't charge any further fees until an application is approved. Okay. So if they submit an application and that application comes before council, there's nothing preventing you at that time from granting a fee waiver with the application. And that can be the case with every permit that comes before you. So, I mean, it's circumstantial based on the council at the time. It's not set in policy. So there's a little risk to that, but that's another way to slice this, I suppose, as well.
Call it a scholarship.
Is there an endowment to fund the scholarship program? That's the question.
Is the current, is under contract with Stacy to have every year?
Not necessarily, no, we don't. She applies for an event permit every year and says, I'd like to hold the market. This is where I'd like to do it, et cetera, et cetera. Here's my insurance, and then we move along.
Is there any way we can grandfather that into this and say, except where existing established?
I wouldn't grandfather every single event in town, because every event has the reason we're raising event fees is because every event has an impact on the organization in some fashion.
I would just like to make, I would like to make an exception, have it put in here and then move on. That would be my wish. I don't want to come back to it. Meanwhile, this is hanging out there, or, you know, or. I don't know where you guys stand on that.
I think that's the only logical option to ensure that our intent is to ensure that our intent is executed correctly, because we don't want to say, I think that's the least messy way to do it.
So. This is getting it messy. I'll remove my,
No, it's okay. You can leave your motion and you can make amendments to the schedule and approve
Okay.
your original motion.
thank you. So I would amend it to say that we charge them a flat $100. That would include their application fee, the power, and the special event permit. $100 covers all of that for the year.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so Ms. Devlin has moved to amend the fee schedule to state that the farmer's market fee is $100, all inclusive. And it's its own line on the fee schedule. Council discussion on the amendment. Is there any public comment on the amendment itself, just the amendment? Okay, no public comment on the amendment. We'll go ahead and call for the vote, Ms. Bertha.
Councilmember Allen,
Aye.
Councilmember Devlin,
Aye.
Councilmember Wander.
Okay, that's amendment.
Now,
Now, what's next?
I'll make a motion to approve the master fee schedule for 2021.
You've already done that. It's already on the table.
Well, that's what I was trying to do.
Oh, it's okay. You amended the schedule, so you already, the motion on the floor now is to approve the schedule. Yeah, and you just approved the amendment, so the schedule's been
Sorry,
amended
it's been a long
and,
week.
no, it's okay. That's all right.
Oh,
Your intent is clear, so it's all right. So the motion on the floor now is to approve the master fee schedule as it's been amended. Is there any further council discussion on the fee schedule?
I'll second the motion.
It's already been seconded,
No, I
sorry.
confused everybody.
They already, they
Apologize.
beat you to
Don't
it.
follow, don't.
I just want to say thank you, Stacy, for giving us some info.
Okay, is there any further council discussion on the fee schedule in its totality? All right, I'll go ahead and call for public comment then.
Stacy Barker, 104 Winslet. I want to thank you guys for making that amendment. It does mean a lot to the market. Just to kind of give you an idea of what I had figured out, if, per se, we were charged every week, what that cost would look like. We had the event fee, which would be $3,300 for the season, but that would be 22 markets. $550 for the road closures, $440 for power, and our $600 for insurance. That is big. So I thank you guys for going with the flat fee of the $100. I greatly appreciate that. And so will the community and so will those vendors that are down there. Hopefully we'll continue to build. Just kind of give you an insight on that as well. We have seen a growth in people coming into town that I have never seen before. So I think the market's only going to get bigger and better this season. Just kind of give you an idea, was a little down due to the fact of the smoke and the heat. So we didn't see a lot of our regulars come out. So again, I thank you guys for, putting that in there, that $100 will make a big difference. And hopefully we can fill that street for you guys and make us proud community of our market. So thank you.
Deanna Rotaball, 204 Valley Street. I know you guys think every time I come up here, I'm going to criticize. My intent right now is to say, I'm very disappointed that Mr. Dewey sat there and threatened us. You'll either get higher taxes or approve these fee changes. That's not a good thing to say to the people and to the council. It's a threat. If Mr. Dewey would quit buying every computer program that came in his door, we would have plenty of money. You're paying right now $2,100 a month for a computer program that caused a recall action against Mr. Dewey. You're paying for my sidewalks, which is, I don't remember, $69,000 for 3 years. You're paying extra for dog licenses that never generate enough money. And yet he wants to raise the fees on all the people of this town, and you're gonna sit there and approve it without even thinking, because he threatened us with higher taxes because he needs more money to spend on silly computer programs. I finally got all the documentation I asked for from Freedom of Information Act on the computers purchased by Mr. Dewey. We now have high-tech stuff in every one of our police vehicles, the fire department. There were 10 computers. I don't know that we have 10 vehicles, put them in, but we got 10. That was $68,000. 11 computers for the town and you guys. I don't know if you're using them. The department has got new computers. And yet you want to raise the fees on the people of this town to make them pay for what you're doing. And I would say to you, think twice before approving this. Now, I don't think I'm going to get through to you. I never have. But think twice, because if you quit spending all the extra money, you don't even come before you to approve, he just spends it. Then you wouldn't have to raise any fees. You're going to charge the businesses more, event fees. People are worried about that kind of stuff. So you need to stop it. You need to stop it today and not approve what he wants to do.
Vicki Motley, 318 9th Street. Just a question on your fee schedules. You talked about road closures. Does that affect parades?
Yes.
So you're gonna charge the school for homecoming parade and Kern picnic parade to close down the street?
Yes,
Wow, in Western days.
correct.
Wow, okay. And I think the fees are a little high. I don't think they should have been doubled or tripled, as some of them are. I think slower increments would be better, a little easier on the mental mindset of that.
Further public comment?
Trevor Motley, 318 9th Street. I'd also like to echo what the previous speaker said. I think that it's absolutely outrageous. You're going to charge community events to use what the community is already paying for in their taxes. All the public services to close roads for parades. I think that you're going to kill a lot of community programs like the homecoming parade, homecoming bonfire, all of those things by increasing the fees. The school is not going to be able to afford that, and you're going to ruin the town of Stevensville. So please vote no.
Is there any further public comment?
Bob Michelson, 222 Turner Street. I truly believe that these fees are way out of control. I think if the town were to make sensible cuts, they could make them many other places besides putting on back on the taxpayers. This might last a while, but it'll slowly kill, like Trevor just said, all the events in this town. The word's already out there. So I hope you vote no. Thank you.
Any further public comment? Okay, so Ms. Speaks.
which is the 3627 Highway 93 and 317 Main Street. Having just paid the fee for Scarecrow, there's a lot of other communities that charge a lot more. So, as far as Scarecrow is concerned, we're not passing it on to anybody. We're taking it on as a part of what we have to pay to put on Scarecrow. So that's my 2 cents.
Question, did you pay the old? This hasn't been approved. Higher than last.
Is there any further public comment or council comment?
Please correct me if I'm wrong, but these have been slowly increasing over the last few years. Is that correct?
Yeah, we saw an increase in 2020 with that budget. We went through an increase and reevaluated and made those incrementally. And we're back at that place where we're doing that again. And I just want to be absolutely clear. There was one comment about items we've purchased, and when it comes to the computers, you guys, that was funded through the CARES Act. That didn't come out of the town's pocket. So just to be clear about that, these fees aren't reimbursing us for those computers or anything like that. I've personally been involved in most of the events that occur in this town as a volunteer, but also on the financial end of it as well, either being from, on a nonprofit board or being one of the coordinators. I understand the impact of these fees and that these increases have on those organizations that hold those community events and do bring a lot of vibrancy to our community, which we need. And so these decisions weren't made lightly. There was a lot of hemming and hawing. The bottom line came down to that we're stewards of the public service, and Mrs. Smith does not pay her taxes currently. She does not pay enough taxes for a fire engine or a police car to sit at the end of the block to block the street for a parade for an hour. She does not pay enough taxes to support that operation. The only other recourse we have is to charge the entity responsible for that. So if the council wants to change that philosophy altogether, then we have to find another revenue source. That's the issue. Please stop and be respectful. I'm trying to explain how we got to the rationale. I'm acknowledging the fact that I heard what you said, and I understand you don't like the fee increases, but it's something we have to do to support the events. A lot of these events are coming to the town and asking for support in terms of blockades and a lot of other things. And in order to support that, we have to charge accordingly. And really, these fees are just subsidizing what that work looks like. They're not covering the expense of that. We're in line with a lot of other communities charge, and we're continuing to deliver a lot of bang for the buck in Stevensville. So I don't like raising these fees. I'm one of the few people in this community who actually pay the dog licensing charge. I don't like to see it go up, but that's just the way it is. I have a dog, I live in town, I'm going to pay the fee. So, I mean, we're caught in this in between. We have a job to do as stewards of this organization, but we're also community members who are impacted by this in every which way. I think everyone at this table is impacted one way or another by these fee increases. No one likes to see charges go up. So, but everyone expects services to get delivered. And when we don't deliver services, people ask why not. And we get the same comments, only it's the other way. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't this happen?
I guess I have a comment about that as well. I participate in one way, shape, or form, but usually I see that the financial outcome of all of the events that happen. And I'm not thinking of one event, then that happens in Stevensville that I'm an active part of. That raising these fees is going to stop that event from happening. They're very successful. And I'm looking at these and I just don't, I don't see how that's going to negatively impact any of these events that happen. I don't know, at the end of the day, we have to pay for services. We have to pay for services, and if you don't want to pay for the service, then don't do what this is requiring. I mean, there's 101 other places you can go in the Bitterroot Valley where it's not going to charge you. That might be a cold answer, but we have to pay for the services. I don't like it. I don't like charging more money. I don't like it, but it's not going to put anybody out of business by doing this. It's not going to stop events from happening. The school, I'm adding this up and we're looking at maybe $100. I don't know how that's going to stop those events from happening. Just, although I don't like it, I'm making that very clear. I don't like this, but our events are going to continue. There's a cost for everything, and we've gotten away with not charging enough for a lot of things for a very long time. It has to stop at some point.
There were some areas I'll close with that we did acknowledge where residents also, in specifically in our Parks and Recreation system, where we're charging a higher fee for those who live outside of Stevensville or outside of town limits that aren't paying taxes than those who reside here and are helping to pay the bills. So we did acknowledge those people in that fee structure. It's harder to do throughout the entire fee structure, obviously. But in those areas where it was easy to determine the residency, we did what we could to accommodate that. And we didn't feel like those people should be any more burdened for utilizing a service that's available to them. So, Ms. Wander?
I was recently involved with an activity, a nonprofit organization, and we used a park, and I feel that cost, and I think this needs to be broke down more. I think that nonprofits, it was with Pantry Partners, and we sponsored evening giving back to the community. And it cost us over $400 for the use of the city area. And I do think that when law enforcement is involved in street closures and impact to the community, really needs to be more than people that are giving back to the community. Like, that's part of giving back, but it is costing more with law enforcement. We're closing the streets.
To clarify on the charges, the town of Stevensville didn't charge you $400 for your permit.
But we had to have more insurance.
Correct.
Stacy brought that up.
Yeah.
That's a killer.
And that's something our insurance company requires.
Yeah.
We can't get out of that. So I just wanted to.
So that's why I
clarify that.
hesitate to implement this. Overall, it affects everybody,
Sure.
where the nonprofit, and yeah, I know, we willingly paid it, we gave back to the community, but I think there are some activities that are cost the city a lot more because of law enforcement requirements and everything than giving back to the community.
And in your case, for your event, just so we can make it circumstantial, in that specific case, that would actually, we're transferring that into a park use because you'd be utilizing a park, which is a reduced cost. It's not as big of a deal as in a whole event. So in your case, if you were doing that event under this schedule, you'd more likely just pay the $50 event permit or the special use charge, and that would be all you pay. So you still have the same insurance requirements, of course, because we require that of everyone. But we did break out special events that occur in parks because those don't have the same impact as an event on a side street or on Main Street even. So
But we willingly did it, and I'm not complaining about the cost.
No, sure.
A person should be told to check around for insurance. We went with the city and, with the playhouse, the food bank insurance, and they just put us straight on through, and that was over $300 just for the one night,
Mhm.
5 to 9.
Yes, shop around. For sure. We have those resources available for people who pull permits. So. Okay. With that, then, we've accommodated the plethora of discussion. It appears the council's prepared to vote, so we'll go ahead and call for the vote. Ms. Bertha.
Councilmember Allen,
No.
Councilmember Devlin,
Aye.
Councilmember Wandler.
Okay, that motion fails. From this standpoint, the fee schedule is not adopted. I need to ask then, because we need to be fiduciarily responsible, what changes you want made to this fee schedule so that it can be adopted, because the revenue budget you adopted involved these fees. So whatever revenue we anticipated receiving in the fiscal year 22 budget relied on these fees being changed. So in order to, I guess, forecast and make sure we're responsible and don't overgo with revenue we don't have, I need to know what action the council expects. We need to be clear on that for us.
My only issue is the special events fees. I understand that the cost is going up. We need that money. It's been relatively inexpensive. The raises seem okay. It's the special events fees. Charging our schools to close roads for a parade, for an event that is so important to our town, a homecoming event, for a bonfire. I would ask that, could we put something in that the schools aren't charged?
You can do whatever you want. You are the governing body.
Okay,
You can,
so
I mean, you
that would
can,
be my only ask, that for special events, schools are not charged.
They have been charged in the past. That's my understanding. Is that correct? So you're saying don't charge them at all, or don't increase it?
Don't increase it.
okay. We, I guess, is it the council, you have voted, is it council's, what we're going to do is we're going to rehash the fee schedule and come back at a subsequent meeting and redo this. It looks like it's apparent it needs some work. So tonight is the night to give us all the feedback you have on this fee schedule so we can bring it back.
Right, so Sydney, when you're saying that, are you talking about like, there's a lot more than just a special event permit. There's road closures, there's other fees that are involved in that. So that, I guess that's what I'm asking, so.
When I say no, I'm specifically responding to my work to constituents and the concerns that they have for our school events, for our road closures. I would like their fees to remain the same. But that is my, everybody that might not agree with that. That would be my idea, and I know that we're getting into something sticky. We can't just have all these exceptions, and we've already made one that made complete sense, but it would remain the same, would be my ask.
Okay. What other feedback does council have so that we can if there's any, we can rework the schedule and take your feedback? Because I'm hearing grumbling in the audience, which is completely inappropriate and rude. But the reason we're doing this is because this is critical in order to continue to provide the services to the community. If you don't want a response, this is important to provide the services to the community. And so This is government happening before you. No, it doesn't probably follow Robert's Rules of Order, and no one's going to die from it. We're going to make sure that your input is incorporated into the fee schedule, and we're going to redo this and make sure that the community gets taken care of and your direction is accounted for. So that's why we're having this conversation. Is there anything further from council? Ms. Wander?
I would maintain what I said earlier, that like especially advanced applications, sometimes we need heavy law enforcement, alcohol or none. Or it's just to come to Stevensville, Montana and go to the supermarket. It's not affecting all the departments that much.
Mhm.
And I don't know how you can break it down so it's fair. Yeah, if we have to close up, like, it is a community thing, but if we have to close the streets and have more law enforcement, not only because of the alcohol, just because everybody's here fighting. It's a breakdown of if you feel that law enforcement is going to be needed for profit or nonprofit organizations. All issues have to be considered.
Sure.
Karen Miss Walner just used the term nonprofit, and I think that might be the key. What if, I guess maybe I made this too messy, we maybe should have just asked to do
Most of the events are facilitated by a
a
nonprofit
nonprofit,
organization.
and that's okay.
Yeah. Very few do we see with for-profit. So it sounds like the emphasis is on event fees. Outside of that, there are no issues from the council's table regarding fees. So we will rework the special events piece of that. It sounds like greater detail is needed with cost of that permit being weighed and considered. So the administration will undertake that, and you'll see at a future meeting a revision of that master fee schedule. All right, we'll move into new business item B then. Discussion decision on the preliminary plat approval extension for phase 2 of the Twin Creeks subdivision. The council packet, my computer will catch up here, does include an agenda communication for your review that describes the action of the council seeking. Mr. Ewert is here from PCI to answer any questions that the council has on behalf of the developers and the owners of the subdivision, which has changed since the last time the council approved an extension. And because of that changing ownership and the timeframes that were with that original extension, they've asked for another one. The administration, from a staff review standpoint, sees no issues in granting that extension, which would move the deadline for phase 2 from January 15th, 2021. 2022, January 15th, 2022, bumping that out to January 15th, 2024. I'd entertain a motion from council to approve.
I move to grant the requested extension of the final plat filing deadline for phase 2 of the Twin Creeks subdivision as set forth in the proposed agreement.
You read your packet. Is there a second?
I'll make the motion.
All right, it's been moved by Ms. Allen and seconded by Ms. Wandler to grant the requested extension of the final plat filing deadline for phase 2 of the Twin Creek subdivision as set forth in the proposed agreement. Council discussion or questions? Okay, public comment. All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and call for the vote. Mr. Cobb?
Councilmember Allen,
Aye.
Councilmember Devlin,
Aye.
and Councilmember Wander.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes unanimously. Made it easy for you, Ron.
Thank you.
The next item is discussion decision on participation in the Montana DPHHS low income water assistance, home water assistance program. This program was brought to our attention by the Department of Public Health and Human Services. They sent a letter that you see in your packet to all the public water system providers in the state of Montana. This is a program that's being coordinated in tandem with the LEAP program for low income energy assistance. The reason this is coming before you is this is an opportunity for us to participate in the program for our water and sewer users. You have a couple of options here that I'll discuss, but to kind of give you some background into our past involvement with the WEAP program. Before we had our own utility assistance program, we had a little bit of a different setup where if they qualified for LEAP, then they received a discount of some kind on their utility bill. And it didn't really amount to very much, but it was our first step towards utility assistance in Stevensville after the big water rate hike. Following that, when we established the utility assistance program we have today, we didn't use LEAP eligibility. We had our own eligibility criteria. Today, with the program as it stands, and it's being, it is a temporary program. It covers through September 2023. LEAP doesn't currently provide water assistance, and now they're going to do that. So the council has a couple of options. You can not participate in the program whatsoever and just continue to operate your own utility assistance program as it stands today. You could operate them both in tandem and grant, and just use or grant them both as they qualify, depending on those circumstances for the individual water user. Or you could suspend the existing program for the town of Stevensville that you currently offer and only use the LEAP program. So those are kind of the three options there. There are pros and cons to each one. But ultimately what the administration is looking for is to find out from council whether you're interested or not in offering this program to your citizens.
So this is through September of 2023.
Correct.
This is a state-funded program.
It is. There's no cost to the town of Stevensville to participate. And if a utility user qualifies for assistance through the state sends us whatever assistance that person's eligible for, and we apply that to their account. So it's, they don't send the assistance to the customer and we never see it. It comes straight to the town.
And you're saying we could do this in conjunction with what we already have. So it's not that we give them a reduced rate.
Correct. They
would potentially pay the difference in what their assistance gave them.
If you do both programs, there's no net effect on the town of Stevensville. It's an extra benefit.
I'd make a motion to approve or to participate in the DPHHS low income home water assistant program, but do it in conjunction with what we currently have in place.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll say the motion.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Devlin and seconded by Ms. Wandler to approve the participation in the Montana DPHHS low income home water assistance program in conjunction with the established utility assistance program. Any further council discussion? Public comment?
Bob Michelson, 222 Turner Street. So what I'm hearing is we have a motion on the floor. We have two options, both of them run by this one you're approving tonight and the one that we already had that you guys approved earlier this year. Is that correct?
Correct. The other program would remain unchanged. It would remain in place.
My concern is that it seems to me like taxes are taxes. This might look like something that's not taken out of our coffers here in town, but it's still taken out of my taxes as far when I pay every. And I think that maybe it would be better served if we suspended the one that comes out of our water bill every month and go with this one. Because I just think it's a better option for overall. It just seems like we're putting another burden on the taxpayers. Thank you.
Stacy Parker, 104 Winslet. I do have to agree, kind of doing away with one of the other ones. I know growing up or raising a family at one time, I did use a LEAP program, which is very nice. It does help out. However, I'm still paying for somebody else's portion of the bill by having it on my bill at the end of the month as well. If you're gonna do both of them, I think one needs to go. And I think the small one needs to go because they're getting assistance from the other. Thank you.
Any further public comment? All right, seeing further council discussion?
I kind of struggle with this a little bit because when we have a discussion about water, the first thing that comes up is how are our people that are less fortunate going to pay for their water bill? We're going to continue to pay for their water bill. We came up with a plan on how that would happen and everybody's been screaming, not everybody, I take that back, but we've been hearing a lot of screaming about how I'm paying for somebody else's water bill. And so we come up with a plan, have the potential to do so to lessen the burden all around. And I just don't know how we can ever make the majority of people happy when it comes to a water bill discussion. LEAP, a lot of people use LEAP. A lot of people have used LEAP in the past where people that used it before them end up paying for that. It's part of the system. You know, it's a cliche saying, but we're kind of all in this together. What one person pays for, another person benefits from, and the goal is to get those people up on their feet so that they can benefit somebody who's in a situation that they were once in. This isn't a huge part of our population that we're speaking of, and any time that we can help them, these very people that there's so much people that are advocating for it until we try and do something, and it just, I don't know how this is going to harm them. It's going to benefit, I think, a lot of people currently and in the future.
Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and call for the vote. Ms. Bertha.
Councilmember Allen,
Aye.
Councilmember Devlin,
Aye.
and Councilmember Wandler.
Motion passes 2-1. The next item on your agenda is the special event permit for Scarecrow Festival, October 1st through 3rd, 2021. That event application is in your packet for your review. You have concurrence from the administration and department heads on proceeding with the event. Because of attendance, that event permit is mandated to come before council. And Gretchen is here to answer any questions you may have of the event if those arise. I entertain a motion from council to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the special event permit for Scarecrow Festival, October 1st through 3rd, 2021.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Allen, second by Ms. Wandler to approve the special event permit for Scarecrow Festival, October 1st through 3rd, 2021. Council discussion? Public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll call for the vote then. Ms. Bertha.
Just 1 second.
Sure, Gretchen?
I can't remember what I had to put down.
It's okay.
Crawford here. I can't remember what I had to put down, our nonprofit umbrella company. Because it's
Okay, so
You use
you have Scarecrow Festival listed as the name and group of the organization, and then your certificate of liability insurance is under P5.
Yeah.
Is that changed?
Yeah.
Okay, you're still using P5's insurance?
Yeah.
Okay, so then that's fine. Your application's complete.
There's a confusion because P5 doesn't carry that insurance. I think you need Civic.
No, I paid for it. It's through Cotton.
It's the certificates here, Brian did it.
It's right here.
So I think we don't.
No.
You do now. Thanks to the scarecrow. Okay, with that then, the policy is only for 5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that, then we'll go ahead and call for the vote. So with that, go ahead.
Councilmember Allen,
Aye.
Councilmember Devlin,
I,
and Councilmember Wander.
Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Under the executive report, you've heard the administrative reports this evening, and so I don't need to go into great detail on that. There are some changes, however, that I think some people might be interested in hearing about coming to our live streaming. The budget that you approved included some upgrades in the system that we use for live streaming. I know we weren't able to live stream the last meeting. I think we narrowed it down to a tablet issue. It worked tonight as best as I can tell. But we anticipate increasing the quality of the live stream. So hopefully you'll see a clearer picture. Hopefully you'll hear clearer sound. And it'll also give us the ability for the viewer to see the packet during the meeting. We'll be able to embed that on our website for easier access. So hopefully we can get some more information out in terms of what people can expect for that. And we should have that in place in time for your next council meeting, probably not by the time the Board of Adjustment meeting comes, but maybe. Just so everyone's aware of kind of the coming calendar, because September kind of exploded this week into a busy week of meetings when it started out as not such. You have a Board of Adjustment meeting on Thursday, the 16th. Oh, let's back up. Airport Board meets on Tuesday, the 14th at 5:30 at Town Hall. Then the Board of Adjustment will meet on a variance request on Mission Street here at the community room on the 16th at 6:30. You have a regular town council meeting then. I'm going to back up again. On the 22nd, Planning and Zoning is going to hold another meeting, and they'll hold that here in this facility. The 23rd then will be your regular town council meeting, and then you have a special town council meeting scheduled for the 30th. That should be a quick one, no more than 10 minutes, where we'll do a bid opening for the Park Avenue Sewer Extension Project. Because of the brevity of that meeting and the only thing you're doing at that meeting is watching Janelle open envelopes for the bids, we will hold that at Town Hall. So it'll be brief, and that's going to occur at 6:30. So appreciate, I talked to a couple of council members today to kind of confirm availability. I appreciate you being willing to add another meeting into the calendar. That will give you a break then we were hoping for a 2-week break. You're just going to get a 1-week break during the week of October 4th. And then you'll go back in on October 14th, where I think by then we should have some changes to your master fee schedule and any other legislation we promised you. So altogether, I think you're down to like something like 5 or 6 meetings this year left of 2021. So otherwise, the administration keeps moving along on the things that it's doing. Things are running relatively smoothly, and we're working. So barring any questions from the town council, I'll turn it over for council comments.
I'll go. I am kind of, I go between laughing and just being upset about a lot of misinformation that gets out to the public, and we rely on news sources quite a bit to feed us information and word of mouth. And with both, they can lead you down a rabbit trail of non-truth really, really quickly. I think here in the Bitterroot Valley, we're very fortunate to be able to rely on, if we're reading something from one of our news sources, sometimes people can argue that it comes from a biased place. Okay, sure, but at least it's filled with facts. The people that we're close to, we trust that what they're saying to us is filled with facts. And I just find it really interesting, the things that are going through our community that are just absolutely not true. And we had a gentleman here from the Conservative News of Montana a little while ago, and I read through his article, and I just bring this up because my name's in here, Mayor Dewey, some people that are joining us today, names are listed in here, and I can't find much of this that's true. I don't know if it's just lack of research. I don't know if it's wanting to just drag some people's names through the mud and paint a bad picture. But when I read something that's coming from a news source that is from a person that obviously hasn't done their research, that is caked with untruths to the point that I'm trying to decide if it's actually vindictive, if it's lies, or if it's just an education. It leads me to a place of, we can find ourselves in a really dangerous spot out in our community, and not knowing really what happens in our local government. We rely on people to tell us rather than doing our own research. And I just ask, I've asked before, but I'm just asking that you please do your own research. These things are detrimental to not just people, but our community. So just please do your research. Don't just rely on what you hear or what you read. Do your research. If you have questions from news sources, from people, ask them. You know, if you have questions about something that you hear, ask that person. We're all available. I know our local news parties are available. So ask those questions. That's all I have.
Next. Anything?
Visiting the fees would be that October 14th meeting, or I'm sorry, the 23rd of September.
I don't know if it'll be September 23rd. If we boogie, maybe. Any other council comments or board reports for that matter? Okay. Hearing nothing else, then we'll go ahead and adjourn, and we will see you all next week for the Board of Adjustment meeting. Thanks for your time this evening.